morning, I guess almost afternoon. Great to get back out there on the field, that's for sure. Had a, I thought a pretty crisp practice. You can see where the guys' focuses are at. Even for going from spring ball to fall camp now, there's just another level of engagement, mindset. It's fun seeing the new guys that we haven't had a chance to see yet that have joined the program, especially those freshmen. You spend a lot of time thinking and wondering what they're going to look exactly like, and I thought they did a nice job out there. They're getting thrown a lot of stuff because we're, as a staff with the continuity and a lot of the upperclassmen returning, we're probably at a 200 or 300 level day one install, not just that 100 level that we probably had a year ago. So a lot of stuff thrown out those young guys, those new guys, but, love the team effort. I think, there's definitely some intention of competing, but also looking out for each other at the same time, knowing we're all fighting the same battle and want the same thing. So it was good to be out there. Can't ask for a better day when it comes to the weather, that's for sure. Questions?
It's just like the first day of school for you. I mean, you get excited too out there with these guys yourself, not only the players.
Yeah, yesterday there's just so many meetings and things you got to check off from compliance meetings to making sure everyone understands the expectations from equipment to training room, and you knock out all those things, and the guys are just chomping at the bit to get on the field. And the coaches are the same way, So we love to do this, and I think those first days of fall camp are much like the spring. You've been doing a lot of prep work and come off maybe a couple weeks or a few days of vacation too, and it's excited to be out there.
William Haskell, what was kind of the calculus on wanting another quarterback?
Well, we were aware of who he was and his skill set, and I think it's just, you think long-term, I guess long-term is relative, but beyond even this year, I think, he's a guy that we see that can compete and brings not just the ability to throw the ball, but he's an athlete. Just thought it was a good addition to our program. We had a scholarship and left for a quarterback. We had a scholarship left for a lot of positions, but certainly at quarterback. And as the season or as the spring went along, we built a relationship with him and, asked him to do a few things when it came to just kind of steps before we'd have him here in the program. And he's met all those steps, and, it was exciting to see him step on the campus here, just a day ago and join our team.
Did you recruit him at Fresno?
We were definitely aware of him, and I'm trying to remember the exact years and stuff and how that all went down, but we certainly were aware of who he was, and I remember watching his film and so forth. So yeah, yep.
Coach, you and Ryan know the offense. Say on a scale of 1 to 100, you guys know it at 100. Mm-hmm. Where would you put Michael and Demo on that?
Yeah, I think they're like coaches on the field. They really are. And you just trust that. You almost take it we do take it for granted that everything you're thinking they are too. But I think Grubb does such a great job. Coach Grubb does such a great job of just continuing to remind guys, in the film room and on the field, why we're making this check, what this read progression is, just over and over. And those reps, even if they're not in there, they're hearing it, they're seeing it. We trust them just because they also don't just know the offense, but they have a great demeanor about themselves, and they're coaching up receivers, they're coaching up running backs, and I saw one play today. Dylan Johnson's a new face in the offense, and we ran a shift, and Dylan was behind Mike and knew exactly where he was going to go, but I could see Mike even just knowing it's Dylan back there and that he might not be 100% confident, just kind of pointing where he should go. And that verification between the two, I think just speeds up the process for guys learning and trusting each other and being on the same page. And so, yeah, we're certainly fortunate to have both Demo and Michael, leading the charge there at the quarterback spot with what their understanding of the offense is. They're just so smart too, They're seeing things beyond even just what the X's and O's. They bring some personality to the offense because, the plays are plays, and a lot of people run the same plays, but the players make the plays really go.
You got a veteran crew, and kind of look like you started up where you left off in the spring with guys coming in initially in the first rotations. How do guys have the opportunity to move up and contest for position that say aren't a starter?
Yeah, I mean, taking advantage of their reps. And so, yeah, you're right. I think for the most part, a lot of the just kind of where we left off is where we're starting here from spring to fall. But those reps are all graded still. I mean, every single rep in every single room is getting graded. The coaches are meeting here in a half hour to, start watching all those plays. And when they meet this afternoon, the offense will have a short meeting, the defense will have a short meeting, and every stat from what they were as a unit to every individual stat from missed assignments to missed opportunities, their drops, whatever it might be on their side of the ball, they're getting graded. So those add up, and I think every year there's always one or two guys that make an impression. Came ready to go, and we'll certainly keeping our eyes out, and we know some areas where we hope some guys do step up.
We saw Voy at Edge today. Is that the permanent move for him, and why does that make sense?
Yeah, I think for right now, just moving him to edge, we're feeling better and better with our depth at D tackle. I think that's a part of it. He has taken way more reps at the interior spots than he has on the edge, so getting those reps, in a normal down and distance, I think is really good. We know we have Braylon and ZTF, and then after that, I think it's a matter of like who are the next guys, and so. We know he's a playmaker. He's kind of a tweener when you think about size and ability and strength and speed. And so, we want to take advantage of that and use him in multiple ways. So we'll probably get him a lot more reps. He has been in the edge room all summer. Just learning the defense from that perspective. So to answer your question, I would say he's an edge right now, and but he's a flex guy. I think that can be there for us throughout the year.
Julie slimmed down a lot from the spring. Was that Julie got to know? It looks like he slimmed down about 10 pounds from the spring. Was that intentional on your guys' part, his part, and how much do you think that's going to help?
Yeah, I think he's in a good spot right now physically. Just I think the wear and tear for him after so many years, and he had limited reps at times during spring ball. That age is creeping up a little bit, so we're careful with the reps. He's also done a really good job of taking care of his body, and dropping a couple pounds and just leaning up a little bit has been something across the board with our whole team. I think that continues to happen, but for him, it's certainly an intentional thing too.
From a big picture perspective, there's a lot that's happened in the Pac-12 in the last week or two with Colorado and all of that and all the uncertainty. Just seeing all of that, what's your take when you look at all of that? How do you feel about where you guys are and what's happening in the conference and all of that?
Yeah, obviously it impacts, right? It impacts me. It impacts our program. There's a part where there's really nothing I can do at this point, so I stay in my lane. When it comes to, there's really not a lot of information that I'm even given at the coach level, head coach level. So, try to, you're curious, obviously, just like all of you are. So, I'm asking here and there, but there's really not a lot of information other than just, kind of being informed on what happens day to day, and I just always kind of rest assured that UW, and I don't want to you never take it for granted, but rest assured that we have a great place here at UW that people are going to want if things would ever fall through with the Pac-12.
Related to that, there's a lot of talk about the future of streaming versus linear television and with college football and where fans can find games to watch them. Your guys' game against Michigan State this year is on as part of the Big Ten's deal. One of the arguments, I guess, against streaming, or people who would be hesitant about streaming, is that it could impact recruiting negatively, that it would impact exposure, and that maybe recruits wouldn't want to play for a school where the majority of their games are on a streaming platform. I'm wondering if that's something you've thought about, talked about, or if you have any opinion on that.
Well, I think it is certainly going to be, a way of the future more and more as we kind of go through these years, and getting used to that. I mean, we're not, I'm a little bit probably more old school too. I like to turn on the TV and know what station a game's going to be on, what channel a game's going to be on. But I also see it even through my own kids, what they're watching and, the apps and all that, that we're watching different shows through and even now sports. And so I think we have to be open to that. But yeah, I think, being all in on that, there's certainly a reason for concern, just because I don't think the entire country and those that watch, want to watch, no matter what conference, no matter what sport, are probably ready to be all in on streaming, So I certainly get the concern, but I also understand the direction a lot of this is going in. Like you said, our third game of the season against Michigan State, is on Peacock, So, that's happening not just in the Pac-12 with our talks, but happening in other conferences as well.
Can you talk a little bit about just the depth that you guys have developed at wide receiver and what it might look like? Obviously, this year you're going to be a pretty deep at wide receiver, but then next year as well.
Yeah, you bet. I know a lot's always made about Rome and Jalen. I think JP a lot of time gets lost in the shuffle there. He had as good of a summer as anyone. He's just running as well as I've ever seen, and he's just so solid at the end of the year. Last year, he came up with the big plays down the field, but he's also the guy moving the chains. And then, you like the guys you're talking about with Jeremy and Denzel. Just, year two in college football for them. Both been through at least the spring, and Denzel's been through a whole year with our offense. And so, you're seeing the combination of knowledge and understanding of college football and our offense mixed in with just body types that, are pretty special and can do some really big things. And so it was fun seeing those guys out there making those plays that you saw, both down the field and just, consistent. Because I trust those guys. I trust, those receivers from top to bottom. They're a group that has a lot of pride, and they hold each other accountable, first themselves and then the rest of the unit. And they got a lot of momentum, a lot of juice that they bring to the team, not just the offense. So I'm excited about that room. I saw some freshmen out there taking some snaps and a little bit lost here and there, but they're kind of that next wave too. Just a year younger than Denzel and Jeremy.
The fastest guy out there, he kind of look like it.
He can move. I don't know if he's the fastest, but he certainly is. He's one of those guys that got the ball in his hands in the high school days, and can make some things happen. Pretty electric.
Who would be faster than him among your vets?
On the team?
Miles?
In the receiving core?
Yeah, or no, just on the team.
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, we our receiving core really, I think as a whole has even picked up some speed across. JP is a guy that is running extremely well right now. So, I don't know who the fastest guys are because there's quite a few all kind of in that same mold. I think 45 of the 48 guys who wore GPS trackers last year to this year all have reached new top speeds. Just in this summer alone.
Coach, with the running back, you got a lot of them. How do you sort that out? Is that something that you really need to see some contact practices in order to sort it out?
Yeah, I think so. We were very comfortable with what CD brings because of his snaps that he took last year. I think he's a better version of himself right now. It was great seeing Dylan, Johnson, because I think that's who everyone's wondered about is the guys that are now coming in that are new. And you just keep going down the line. Rich, it was great to see him as healthy as I think I remember seeing him since we got here as a staff. And I like where his mind's at in his head. He just probably, enjoying football more than I've seen, in the last year and a half. Will Nixon, his body looks way different. His body, by the time we hit spring ball, and the weight he had put on is different than what he was a year ago. So I can go on down the line. We'll find ways to get them all as many as we can involved. I know it's hard to get more than two on the field. I'm not saying that's when we have to be what we have to get to. If 3 or 4 are ready, especially early in the season, you want to use their skill sets, and that's a little bit of what happened last year. I just think we're advanced. We're another level past where we were because there's a lot more banked reps that these guys all have in this offense. But we'll get, Dylan Johnson and Daniel Nagata and Tybo, all those new faces. So a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities. But we'll make sure that the guys that, like a CD, who looked really good, I thought, out there today, continue to develop and grow in our offense and help take us to the next level.
How much of a gap is there between Mateo Melee and Parker Brailsford?
Oh, I don't know how much to explain the gap, but we think the world of Parker, as a football player, we really do. We would feel very comfortable if he had to go out there and play. His spring was, and I'm going mostly off of the spring. He's just a phenomenal football player. Probably the difference is just the difference in size between Mateo and Parker. But again, talking a lot about Parker, Mateo, there's no reason from what we've seen this spring and going through here the summer workouts to feel like there's not a spot for him in the lineup as well. So it's probably a little more competitive than probably what we've shown because we've played a consistent lineup. But, the question was asked earlier, how do guys move up? And, Parker Brailsford and, Garen Hatchett, Julius Buelow, and, those guys are all really competing for one or two other spots there at the offensive line. And that's one of those spots one of those positions that's super competitive right now.
You mentioned feeling better about your defensive tackle depth. How much of that is Alumuale's progression over this last year, and how well positioned is he to kind of be a major factor for you guys this year?
Yeah, I remember the conversations a year ago with him, just as a staff in regards to him. It's like, man, if he could do it, if he could, if, and, you could see as the fall camp was going along and, just that, hey, it's just going to take time, but he can be a guy that just wreaks havoc in the up front. And so now that he's been through a full cycle where, he's adjusting his body, he's learning not just the skills it takes, but also the defense too, and the freedom he has within the schemes and playing free, playing loose. I'm excited about the impact he can make, which I think will be much greater than anything he did a year ago.
You said the offense is at 200 or 300 level already install-wise. What does that mean later on? Can this offense look even more advanced, and what would you like to see progression-wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the defense is too. Where we were at a year ago and just more guys and more depth, more guys you're confident in putting out on the football field. And there's certainly another level of where we're at now with what those installs look like and how they're executed. But to answer your question about, what the offense could be, I think it's just more of just being even more well-rounded early on than we were a year ago, where the pass game was hitting on all cylinders, and the run game was a little slower to develop. And so, we got to be balanced because teams are going to try to take Mike and the receiving core away. And, from what I've seen so far, with the spring and especially even today, I know we don't have pads on. I'm excited about the personnel at running back and what they're going to give us and how much further they're along and the focus they have to rise to the occasion. For us to be better early in the season and make an impact. So I think that's one of the areas offensively we can really, those short yardage plays, those goal line plays maybe that we came up short in the early part of the season, putting points on the board. It might not lead to more yards all the time, but just putting more points on the board when you got in those situations where we fell short a year ago.
What do you think about Jabbar Muhammad?
Yeah, I really, when it comes to Jabbar, and just I think a lot of my thoughts right now are probably when I talk to other players around the team, and you just have conversations, and I ask about certain guys, and you ask about Jabbar, and it's just been super positive. And I know meeting with him post spring, he was just so came in my office, and we had some multiple conversations, and it just seeing him and his personality now come out as he becomes more comfortable being, it's really cool to see it, him stepping out there today. It's like, oh, he's not a new player anymore in our program. He understands our philosophies. He understands our culture. And then he's a, really good football player out there as well. So, he's a guy that makes you, really feel, that there's a great promise to what we can do as a defensive backfield for sure.
Coach, I know it's day one, but going into camp, is there a chance that we could see any players switch positions?
I think I don't want to say never ever, but I can't think right offhand of many guys. I mean, within the family of positions, there might be a safety that plays Husky here and there. I think of like a Tristan Dunn. He's been playing a lot of snaps, both spring and even, right now at the Husky position. But he's a guy, I think that's really, those safeties are all kind of guys. Dom moved to safety, but I don't know if it's that big of a position move. Yes, it is, but he's kind of in that same family of positions. So moving side of the ball, I don't see any of that happening, right now.
From a year ago, coach, to today, Penix has had a lot of big moments for this program. What's the biggest difference in your mind? The player he is a year ago, the player we saw out there today.
Well, I think it's different just when you line up the first play of each set, when you say the ones are up, and it's always him. I think that just constantly adds to the consistency or continuity, I should say. Last year it was like, who's up with the ones? And it was a rotation between three quarterbacks, for almost 2 weeks or right at that. And so I think that part is just different. And so his presence just over and over with that same unit, that familiarity, that every snap they took. And now a lot of it just comes because they built such a trust in him last year during the season. But he's not, when I say more vocal, he's not loud, but he gives a talk. We kind of set it up, but he was definitely ready and willing to give a talk. We do kind of a fourth quarter talk by a player, and everyone kind of puts their dubs up, and he gave a great talk. And I think he goes through pretty much every meeting that I've seen, for sure when it's a quarterback meeting, but offensive meeting, team meeting, and there's something he needs to say, he doesn't hold back. And it's real subtle sometimes. It's not this thing where it's look at me. He doesn't lead that way. But, man, this is important to him. He came back for a reason, and he's not going to let anything slip through the cracks. So if there's something that needs to be said, he's going to say it.
Kalen, from a personal level, what's the difference in year two? You came in here last year, no one really knew your system. You hadn't won a game here yet. What's the comfort level between you and the players?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think, I think there's just an appreciation in all ways, right, between what the coaches do and what the work is that they put in with the players, and the guys just trust and believing that they got a staff that really cares about them. I think, your relationships are so much deeper. And, I think the key for us is just always trying to make things a little bit uncomfortable, never falling into a level of complacency. And I don't see that. I don't expect that. But, we know we're going to be in some uncomfortable situations. We were in a lot of them last year, some of them might even have been in practice. But we got to be comfortable, continue to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and so pushing the guys but also them knowing that we trust them. I think that's just kind of where we've really grown the last part of the season a year ago to, where we're at even right now.
You talked a lot about growing progressions over this course of this interview, and I'm just kind of thinking, what's kind of the level of motivation and kind of encouragement of one another going into your second year? Except I imagine at least in that locker room, there's probably a lot more maybe urgency and a lot more kind of motivation coming out of 11-2 season versus 4-8.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of momentum that last season gave us, right? But we also didn't win. We didn't even make it to a conference championship. So, it's pretty easy. We spoke of it last night. We have a goal and down in our team room, and that's to win championships. We also talk about how we do it with class and integrity. But, those goals haven't been reached. And so that's where I think it's pretty easy for our guys to not fall into the trap of, you know, this continuity of 25 practices before we play our first game, and just kind of thinking, oh, okay, we just got to get to week 1 and let's go, let ball out. That's not where our guys' thoughts are at, what their thinking is. They have lofty goals, and, you know, we got to this situation, this spot right now where we have a confidence to us, a swagger to us. We got to this spot because we took advantage of every moment, every day, every practice, meeting. And so, you know, we got to this spot because of that. We need to make sure we understand that's what it's going to take moving forward, is to always be 1-0 and in the moment and make the most of every opportunity and day that we have together.
What is your long-term goal? Is it to win the conference? Is it to win the national title? I mean, this year, what is your goal?
Yeah, I mean, you can't win a national title until you win a conference championship. I mean, or you're there and had an amazing season. So you don't want to leave that to chance. I mean, it's going to take a conference championship in my mind to make the next goal. And, you know, I'd be lying if that hasn't always been since day one as a head coach 15, 20 years ago, that going to national championships isn't always in the back of my mind, but it always goes back to not getting ahead of yourself and talking about that and thinking about that too much. When you ask me the question, I'm going to answer that way, but our guys right now are going back to the process, focusing on now, you know, being intentional on building relationships, corrections, being critical of ourselves. We just talked about that on the field, you know, all those things that are important to where we got now today, and how we got here. That's what it's going to take to win a championship, to be at that level that, you know, we have goals and aspirations of being at.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kalen.
Thanks, everybody.
Guys all good?